Okay, now at this time, we'll have our weekly press conference. We'll call it a press conference. If there's any other questions you'd like to come up and ask, feel free to do so. We'll be here. And again, please make them specific questions, and so we can move this along a little bit. Mr. Martin.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Eric Martin, Public Works Director and County Engineer. And I wanted to take this opportunity for some clarification about a statement I made a few weeks ago. As we were going through the process of purchasing some fleet vehicles for the county, we had been asked to look at some opportunities for local businesses to get involved in those purchases. Based on the amount of time we had when that request came in, we had already been well underway in process in purchasing off of the state contract. So in an effort to just do some comparison shopping, we went on what we have, an agreement we have with a purchasing cooperative. And as we went through that purchasing cooperative, we found that in one particular instance, and we're talking about purchasing cooperatives and state contracts here, not retail sales. We found one particular vehicle out there that was a little bit higher than what we'd found on state contract. But I want to make sure that statement is clarified very clearly. That has no bearing on you know, the dealerships in Lewis County and what they sell cars for versus any other dealerships that we might buy off state contract. They're very, very different. And so I just wanted to make sure that that statement got clarified in the sense that as far as what the dealerships in Lewis County sell their cars for, I have no statement on that. I'm sure they're very competitive, and I'm sure they do a great job, and you can get a great deal at any of the dealerships here in the county. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear, that the statement I made was not about any retail sales that any folks in Lewis County might have. And so that's not my business, and I didn't mean to comment on it. So I want to apologize to the dealerships in Lewis County if it came across that I was making any statement about their prices versus anybody else around here. So do you have any questions about what I'm trying to say here?
And aren't you going to be having a meeting with all of our dealership folks locally to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. And so based on that suggestion, we definitely would love to sell vehicles to local dealerships if we can make it work for.
We want to buy from them. We don't want to sell.
Sorry, yes, we want to buy from them. We don't want to sell them cars. We want to buy cars from them. We want them to sell to us if possible. And so we are organizing a group right now, and we're going to get representatives from all the dealerships within Lewis County. We're going to get them in a room, and we're going to try to figure out how we maybe can make that happen if they're interested. You know, selling under government contracts and competing against the state contract is not for everybody. It may be difficult for some smaller dealerships to do. It may not. That's up to their business model. So we're gonna definitely want to explore that opportunity and see if there's people interested in doing it. And if there are, we want to give them every opportunity.
I know that was one of the things I think I've asked this question repeatedly, as if our dealerships have an opportunity, whether not only cars but you know, heavy equipment, whatever it may be, for our county to be able to compete. Now, I don't know if they will or they won't, but at least you're organizing some opportunity for those local dealerships to possibly get involved with that.
Absolutely, yeah. We want to put that opportunity out there and make it available if at all possible, and again, if they're interested. So.
Yeah, and we want to reiterate, we want to buy local, and we want to have our sales tax go to our local dealerships, whatever that may be. So yes.
That's true of all of our public works contracts. If there's local people out there, we definitely encourage them to bid. We want to see those jobs and those tax dollars and that work stay here in Lewis County if we can make that work for everybody. So,
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Okay. Any other questions? Aaron? Susan?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a comment about a meeting we had last week. Okay. We had a meeting with the mayors of Lewis County, as well as our federal representatives. Their representatives were with us. And if there's a meeting that folks would like to attend and know what's going on in Lewis County, that is the meeting. It was very informative to know what other things are happening in the city. It was also very nice that we had reports from our federal representatives, what they're working on. So we've had some issues around the county regarding the Corps of Engineers. And our federal reps helped us with China Creek project in the city of Centralia. And we also have a project at the Chehalis Port, which we mentioned to our federal partners too. And also they helped us looking at Amtrak in Centralia, that was going to be no longer manned by a representative from Amtrak. And now we know it's going to be continued until the end of the year and it'll be reevaluated, but it's open. So it's a good place to find out what's happening in the county. You have all these people in one place, and we're usually an hour, hour and a half. I think this time we went 2 hours. Yes. And we also talked, with the mayor of Mossy regarding Tacoma Power and the meeting we had, upcoming meeting we're having last Friday. So I just can't emphasize enough. If you want to know more about what's going on in Lewis County, that's the place to come. And it's the first Monday of each month, starting at 9 o'clock. Friday. Sorry, don't know my calendar. Thank you.
And we always have donuts.
Yes.
Some kind.
Yes, we do.
Harry.
I would like to speak to that. Yeah, it's a great meeting. I try to attend as often as I can. The room is getting crowded.
It's becoming popular, isn't it?
It is. And I was going to suggest, is there a possibility that we could have it in a different venue? Like
We've
maybe
talked
right
about
here?
having it in here sometime.
Here,
Yeah.
or maybe down,
WSU. Yeah.
downstairs. Yeah, that was.
That's a good that's
Yes,
good.
yes.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so I had another comment. Would you be willing to talk a little bit more about the confusing process of appointing council members in Napavine? Because I read the report in the Chronicle, and I think I was more confused. So quickly, I don't need you to go into gory details, but I'm not quite sure what the outcome was and why the governor was involved and who has authority to do what. And
I can speak to that, Harry.
okay, great.
And just so everyone will know, there really is no such thing as the Reader's Digest version of anything we do here at the County Commission.
Yes.
We had been called on by the city of Napavine and their attorneys to investigate the situation there concerning several of the positions that had been appointed. There were questions about the legality of those appointments. Their attorneys approached our attorney, Jonathan Meyer, and he came to us and he explained the RCW and how this process would work. And so we set about our own process, wanting to try to keep it consistent with what just recently had happened over in Morton, where a city council person was appointed there. A little bit different situation here. And so we had prepared our process. We had asked for applicants to send applications directly to the BOCC. We had 6 applicants that applied. Those names have remained anonymous until, and of course they'll be known tonight. But in that process and in getting ready for that particular meeting and getting our ducks in a row, it's been reported, and it was reported again on Let's Talk About It this morning, that it was the request of Napavine to have the governor's office get involved with this, and that stopped the process. That's actually missing a particular step. We have received a number of public disclosure requests from an individual over the last never how many months. And at 3 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon, we're an hour away before we go to make these interviews, we got a public disclosure request that called us on the fact that we had not completely advertised this meeting the way we were supposed to. In essence, we missed a step. We did not put it on our calendar on our website, and this individual found that. And so had we gone ahead with the meeting at that point, that would have been an automatic lawsuit against the county. And so Glenn Carter, Jonathan Meyer came over and sat with us and said, you cannot hold the meeting tonight for that reason right there. And so initially we canceled the meeting with the thought process that we would reschedule it. I don't think it was 15 minutes after that that we got the announcement that the city of Napavine had made an appeal to the governor's office for them to look into this and for them to take action on this. And so at that point, we didn't try to reschedule. We just simply canceled the meeting until we could get clarification from our attorneys, which they were able to get the next day. The particular attorney for the governor's office contacted us back and said, no, the county still has the authority to make these decisions. And so at that point, we began to publicize that we would have another meeting tonight, Bethel Church, 6 o'clock, where we will appoint these counselors. And at that point, that's the end of our responsibility at that point. As far as anything else that might be going on at Napavine at this point, you know, and there's there's been a lot of talk about other things, and a lot of things have been reported about other things as well. After tonight, our responsibility will end, and it's our hope that the city will be able to move forward in a positive direction after this and begin to get back to doing the business of the city of Napavine. Did that kind of explain it for you? Good.
And if I could give a little clarity to the website piece, it had what we were doing at the time, but the location, it wasn't here, and we had not indicated it was in Napavine. So it was noticed, but we had a problem with the website piece. But from now on, that will not occur again.
Let's talk about it this morning. Someone called in and said there are 2 Bethel churches.
Oh, right.
I heard that.
Napavine. Yes. Yes.
I don't think we were going downtown, Colonel, at the trail location
No,
on this
yes,
one.
yes.
Okay, any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, could I make a comment or two about
Yes, absolutely.
something? Friday night, the 3 commissioners met with the citizens over in Mossy Rock, along with Tacoma Power. As many of you may know, that Tacoma Power is making some decisions at this moment concerning the Mossy Rock Dam. According to some engineering studies and geological studies, there's an anticipation of a major earthquake sometime within the next decade, but it's all speculation at this point. And FERC is involved, and I don't know exactly what the acronym completely stands for, but federal is the first part. Yes. I do know that.
Energy
go.
Regulatory Commission.
Thank you. They have put a plan in place in order to keep the water level at a very low, in fact, 30 feet below normal, I think is the last figure I heard. And what that is doing is it's taking out the major boat launch there. It's also taking out the swimming park, which are very much parts of the experience over there when people come to camp and they come boating. We know that we have people coming down from Seattle and other places that like to come to Rife Lake on the weekends because it gets them away from the big city, and they get to come skiing and camping and boating and fishing and all those things that make us who we are here in Lewis County. And I personally am very disappointed with what I heard the other night. I was disappointed in the presentation. The first statement from Tacoma Power was that we do not make a profit. And I'm afraid they lost me from that point forward, plus the fact that they talked to us about how, when that question was asked, there was a lot of talk about the geology thought processes that go into this and the technology, and it was a bit condescending. And I think most people walked out of that meeting feeling that way, that they were talked over. And the individual that spoke to us I had some difficulties with him simply because he, well, for one reason, when he put up a slide telling us what the impact to Mossy Rock Park was going to be as far as would we lose reservations, would we gain reservations, that was a bit offensive because that doesn't tell the whole story about that area. And I know that Commissioner Stamper, he and I have talked about this a number of times, and I know how passionate he is about this. But I stood up and called him out for those two things right there because, you know, it's obvious that if you're not making a profit, you're not staying in business. But to tell that to the ratepayers there, also when questions were asked about how is this going to affect property values, because there's a number of people over there that have property and have had them for years, and this will affect their property values. And so we're hoping that we can come to some resolution with this, because at this moment Tacoma Power seems to have taken the stance that they're going to wait on the report from FERC. He gave several examples, perhaps that they could require the dam to take the water level even lower, to the tune that we may be making tours of Cosmos over there because the water's getting down that far. But it's affecting fish. There's been a huge loss of fish in that area. It will affect boating. We've asked about a boat ramp, several other things, but they've also told us that until they get their information back from FERC, they can't move forward on any of that either. Where they had originally planned to have everything in place by the 4th of July, they will not. And so we're going to go through this summer with lower water levels and I guess, Commissioner Stamper, no swimming park, because they have to go over there and do some work on that as well. So it was we were glad to see so many people came out. I guess there was 200 people in the room, and we're hopeful. And I think that's about all we can say at this moment. We're hopeful.
I think, and a little follow-up on that, just to add to that, is Rife Lake over the years, and I've lived here my entire, matter of fact, I've told people I was from Rife. I had, Tacoma Power bought out all the property, and then you had to move. We moved to Mossy Rock, some moved to Morton, some moved to different parts of the county. And we have had, over the years, historic low levels in that lake. I mean, most of them have occurred during the winter months because they're anticipating snowpack and other things. Mm-hmm. Now, right now, I'm not sure. I think it was 30 feet below what the level was last year. They will be able to access if it's maintained, depending, you know, like I say, depending on power generated, and there's a number of factors there. My concern, and a lot of that is, and there's some things, obviously, this is going to be artificially lowered. Yeah. This is going to be a plan, and they don't know. It could last 10 years. It could last 15 years. Who knows for sure? Because at the rate of federal government, they have submitted a plan to FERC, I do know, and who knows how long that's going to take. And that's where we're relying on our federal representatives, you know, to make sure that this process is as expedient as possible. So and again, looking at it from what can we do now to really help out the situation? Well, the first thing they need to do is, and again, we've had historic lows in that lake before. I don't know if it's going to impact camping or not. It's hard to say. Only time's going to tell. But if there's a boat launch there and there is a recreation area there, then that will solve some of the issues, I think, as far as people coming, because a lot of people, you can launch a 12, 14-foot aluminum boat, but there's large boats on. That's one of the nice things about Rife Lake is you do have, you know, there's large boats. There's sailboats out there in the past. So, and people stay out on the lake for a week at a time. They'll bring their large boats. So that is going to impact it. So I'm hoping that we'll see what happens. I know that we're going to continue to have discussion with everyone. And the last thing to do, and I would hope that the media people will print this, I'm hoping Mossy Rock called that meeting. It was not Tacoma Power. Mm-hmm. And what Mossy Rock did, Mayor Tom Mead did call them and said, you know, would you be willing to come? Because we were not sure, and then we finally got word 3 days later when we were talking to Tom. Actually, it was at the mayor's meeting.
Yes.
is at the mayor's meeting that Tacoma Power would be there. So I'm hoping that Tacoma Power, because it's not just Mossy Rock, there's Morton, there's Glenoma, there's Randall, and all up the valley. So not to mention what's downstream too. So it's a big picture, and I know that I'm going to personally reach out to Pat McCarty to see if he would be encouraged to contact the mayors of Morton and those other communities to see if they would have the same meeting and take the initiative to do that. So that's what I'm hoping. We cannot force Tacoma Power to do that, although that we can, hopefully we can have a little bit of leverage by contacting the people above us, the people that represent our districts at the federal level, to maybe motivate them just a little bit. And we will continue to be fighting for the people of not only the East End, but it affects the whole county. It's not just an East Louis County situation. It affects the whole county. So we're going to continue to be motivated to bring that to the forefront and keep it in the headlines as much as possible.
And this weekend, a number of folks who represent fishing communities are very upset about that and are requesting a meeting with the commissioners to talk about that. It seemed like a double whammy. There was those fish that are missing, and then this, and so they're very concerned.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd like to add to that if I could really quickly. So my understanding, my feeling is, as community, as a stakeholder in the community, that we're helpless. And based on, I'm sorry I didn't make the meeting Friday. I was stuck in Seattle in traffic. But we feel helpless that we're not listened to. And if I could, the question is, how can the community stakeholder and stakeholder groups, tourism related, people who are interested in fish issues, the jurisdiction isn't the mayor's, the jurisdiction isn't the county, the jurisdiction is FERC. Who are they? And do we have a contact? And if you do get anywhere with that, could you post that so that maybe it would be a letter writing and or a public meeting which would include our local regional FERC representative to tell us what, and I understand now after hearing from you that we're not going to repair or extend boat launches until we find out from FERC when the actual
whether the plan's approved
level is to be set. They didn't give you any timeline? Could be 10 years, 15 years? Are we?
They didn't have one,
and
Harry.
They showed us the various agencies it has to go through. Corps of Engineers is one of those also.
Right. So I think that we're having these public meetings, but we're not necessarily including the people that can make an impact, unless, of course, we can get our federal reps. So I'd be willing to work a campaign of at least letter or phone calls to our federal representatives, but if you could guide us to who we should be speaking to give us the most impact, that would be great.
I think we can probably, and I know that was a direction in some of our conversations that we had. We need to mobilize, so to speak,
yes,
and we need to collect our energy and move it towards one at the federal level. So that would be probably, and again, I think this is where in the organization, and hopefully by the end of this week we can get some things out on our website to move this thing forward. And again, I will tell you right now, unequivocally, we will probably be talking about this. Just mention it briefly at every press conference that we have, and also if you hear of other people that have questions, we'll answer them the best we can. And again, we will have some contact information that we can get to all the people that will make those decisions that will support what we're trying to do. Okay.
And I did make copies of some of the overheads and sent them to our legislators in Olympia as they were speaking. So try to keep those folks.
And I do know that that Sherry from Representative Herrera Butler's, she had requested, and when I spoke to her, that we need to get she would requested a PowerPoint to be sent to her. So, you know, this is
It's a big deal.
This is all new for us, probably within the last 3 weeks, so we're,
Not yet. It's really Tacoma Powers. It's been requested.
it's been requested.
Yes, that's a good point. If we can obtain it and put it on our website, that'd be good.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
I was going to say one other thing. We were going to announce today the changes that we were making with 911 and our computer program installation of the finance system, but that was done last week. Is there any comments our two gentlemen out there would like to make? I knew Steve would come.
Well, if I don't make them, they'll be hounding me here to ask a few questions. So I will make a few comments. That I met with many of the employees, the people, the organizations concerning the business over this last week of 911. Still have a lot more to contact. It's been a really busy week, but I am pleasantly encouraged and optimistic that the course of action we set on here and have set on just recently will resolve many of the issues that have come to the forefront. We're really trying at this point to reset the mission, reestablish trust in a number of different ways, and not lay blame to anyone that this hasn't been working as well as it could have. So, like I said, I'm very optimistic from the people that I've talked to, from the players and our customers, that they're willing to work together and see if we can't move forward as a team. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And Steve was at the Tacoma Power meeting too, when we were discussing the issue with the dam.
yeah, one thing I will say on that when I had asked him the question about, if something did occur during this time period when they were trying to resolve it at the levels they were at, they moved the dam, lowering those levels, what kind of impact would it have to Lewis County as far as those gates breaking? And their comment was that it should not, with all the engineering studies they have done, it should not be any worse than the flood of '96. That is encouraging. That's something that was horrible. It destroyed homes and farms, and I think we only had one person that actually lost their life in that, but it was catastrophic for that area down in Toledo. But the town of Toledo was not directly impacted, and that is something we would be able to get through. Catastrophic dam failure at the levels before they did lower it, no. And that is part of their concern. From an emergency management perspective, it kind of conflicts with what you're looking at for the economy. So I hope we kind of wrap all this together in a way that makes sense and they continue to work with us. I have a very strong working relationship with their emergency management people, and we're doing some good things together. And yeah, it's a pretty complex situation right now. So.
Yes.
It is. It is. Okay. Any other comments? Okay, well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yes. See you next week.
You are invited to immerse yourself in the beauty of nature in all four corners of Lewis County, Washington. From our fields to your table, farms in the west share their bounty. Limitless landscapes, forests and mountains beg to be explored in the east. Fish our many rivers and lakes in the south, and discover where history and culture intersect in our twin cities. Explore it all by visiting our Facebook page and plan your next getaway at discoverlewiscounty.com. Culture, history, and adventure all come alive when you discover Lewis County.